In 1669, in Hamburg, a man named Hennig Brand did something so strange it still sounds made up. He collected more than 1,000 liters of human urine, convinced there was gold hiding somewhere inside it. Welcome back to the Plasma State, where we take stories like this one and ask what they actually reveal about the mind. Stick around, because this one goes somewhere I don't think you'll expect. Brand's logic, if you can call it that, went like this. Urine is yellow, gold is yellow, so somewhere in that liquid, the thing alchemists had chased for centuries had to be hiding. So he let it sit for weeks until it stank, then boiled it down again and again, watching the color the whole time. Now, before you laugh at him, consider what he was actually doing, because there's a word for it, and we've been using that word wrong for a very long time. Meditation isn't sitting cross-legged with your eyes closed thinking about nothing. At its core, it just means holding your attention on one thing without letting it break. A carpenter repeating the same cut 1,000 times until his hands stop making the mistake is doing it. So is Brand, because for months, every bit of his mental energy pointed at a single, unbroken question, and that kind of discipline isn't foolishness, it's focus aimed at the wrong target. And here's where his focus actually paid off, just not in the way he expected. At the bottom of his still, after enough boiling, Brand found a waxy white residue that did something urine has no business doing. In a dark room, with no flame anywhere near it, it started to glow. He hadn't found gold. He'd found phosphorus, the first element in recorded history that we can credit to one named person, and its name, from the Greek, literally means light bearer. Here's the part that should stop you for a second. Right now, every thought you're having while listening to this, including this one, is running on a molecule called ADP, and every single ADP molecule in your brain is held together by a bond made of phosphorus. It's also woven into the backbone of your DNA in every cell in your body. So a man digging through human waste, chasing something that didn't exist, pulled out the exact substance your brain is burning, right now, 350 years later, just to follow this sentence. And Brand wasn't some isolated case of stubborn genius. In 1847, a doctor named Ignaz Semmelweis noticed something almost nobody else was willing to sit with. Women giving birth on wards run by physicians were dying of infection at far higher rates than those attended by midwives. He held on to that one uncomfortable observation so tightly it cost him his career and eventually his sanity, and he died in an asylum years before germ theory proved he'd been right the entire time. Around the same era, a meteorologist named Alfred Wegener stared at a map long enough to notice Africa and South America fit together like torn paper, and though geologists mocked him for it, until his death in a Greenland snowstorm. Plate tectonics would later confirm almost everything his stubborn attention had already told him. None of these men found what they set out to find, yet every one of them found something, because the target was never really the point. The sustained attention was the point, and attention is the only part of any of this that actually survives into the future. This is also, structurally, how a mind grows, and it's worth noticing that a vine never sends out just one tendril. It sends dozens, in every direction at once, and most of them find nothing and quietly fall away, but the ones that do find something thicken, strengthen, and start pulling the rest of the plant up behind them. Your neurons do the same. Every idea you keep working on, right or wrong, grows new branches toward it, because cells that fire together wire together, and the reaching itself reshapes the mind doing the reaching. Keep training in a direction long enough, and something on the outside tends to meet you there. Even Einstein, deep in the coldest kind of mathematics, described this, calling it a cosmic religious feeling, the emotion that meets a mind willing to stay devoted to one question for years, and he named it one of the strongest forces behind real scientific discovery. That's exactly why it's worth studying consciousness in the first place. Not to land on some final theory of what awareness is, but to understand that it isn't a container you fill, it's a structure that grows in whatever direction you keep pointing it, and one the world, strangely often, seems willing to answer. But here's what actually made Brand's focus different from stubbornness, and it's the real point of this story. He didn't just believe there was gold in that urine. He kept boiling it, kept watching it, and let the material talk back to him, until it told him something true, just not the thing you wanted to hear. Semmelweis had real numbers on real hospital wards. Wegener had an actual coastline whose edges refused to lie. In every case, attention stayed in contact with something outside itself. And that contact is what turns focus into growth. Cut it, and even total focus just spins on its own belief. A feed does the same thing in reverse. It holds your attention for hours without ever really answering back, without surprising you with anything you didn't already expect to feel. That's not distraction in the usual sense. It's attention with the feedback removed. None of this means focus stops matching. It's still the vehicle, the same sustained attention Brand and Semmelweis and Wegener all had. But focus that never risks being wrong just repeats itself, no matter how long you hold it. So the real measure of your consciousness was never how long you can focus. It's whether the thing you're looking at is still allowed to surprise you. Brand's urine surprised him. Semmelweis's numbers surprised him. Wegener's coastline surprised him. If nothing you're paying attention to has surprised you lately, that's not a strong mind. That's usually a closed one. If this changed how you think about your own attention, even a little, tell me where in the world you're watching this from, and hit like on your way out, because that's the only signal that tells an idea like this where to reach next. That's for today. Keep your inner light on.